A person asked for my recommendations about warming up. And again, that's another hard one because it's a personal thing. The purpose of warming up is to get the blood going and the joints loosened up, ready to go, which doesn't take a lot of effort, but to get the mind set. Okay, focus in, this is where, shut the world out for a bit, this is what we're doing. And warming up helps to do that. It's not a set time for any period. I don't like putting time limits on things. Parents, back when I was teaching, parents would ask, how much should the child practice? An hour a day, half hour a day, what? And I said, I don't know, because it's different for everybody. I'm not interested in time. I don't care how long they practice. They need to cover the material. If it takes them 5 minutes to cover the material, fine, they're done. Leave them alone. If it takes them an hour to cover the material, again, fine, good for them. So it isn't a matter of how long you practice or how long you warm up. You do what's necessary for you. Now, as far as what you do in the warm-up, again, is a personal thing. I found in college I could do scales and arpeggios, and that would warm me up really well. And in fact, I enjoyed doing them so much, I usually spent the first hour just on scales and arpeggios. Not hard to do when you're practicing 4 to 6 hours a day, trying to get through college, right? Because the piano requirements of getting through college in this country are stringent. They're kind of hard. At least they used to be. So warming up is 5 minutes, you might be done. Other people might take 20 minutes, who knows. So I recommend scales, and if you're doing arpeggios, do the arpeggios too. The only things I don't do in a warm-up would be to use pieces that I'm practically ready to perform. These are pieces that I know, and I'm just polishing them up. I'm just kind of fine-tuning the performance and the interpretation, all right? I do not do those in a warm-up. I want to be completely warmed up before I play those, with one exception. Occasionally, when I sit down at the piano, I will play a piece that I'm ready to perform cold, with no warm-up whatsoever. And I do that as a test. How well does it go if I'm not warmed up? Because a lot of times when you're over at someone's house or out somewhere and there's a piano and you have the chance to play and they want you to play and you sit down, you haven't warmed up. What do? Well, you have to be able to play without warming up. And there is a difference between performing a piece and practicing a piece, right? Major difference. When I get a piece about ready to perform, and I have a performance coming up within the next few weeks, and yes, I have a piece ready to perform weeks in advance. I never wait to the last minute to try and, I've done that in the past, no thank you. I learned that in college too, and we always did in college. We could play our pieces really well for a month or more before we were allowed to perform them in a master class or anything. And that's the way I still do it today. But I have to test it. I have to sit down and I have to perform it for me, and that tells me all the spots where I may have had little problems, where things didn't go quite right. That tells me where I need to practice on those spots. I go back and I work on those spots and iron that out. Then I can go back and try the test again. And this is part of my routine of learning a piece, is this personal test. Eventually, I'm ready to perform it for other people. One person was confused about the triplets. I think I have cleared up, or they figured it out on their own. You see, you have a given period of time that a beat lasts. 1, 2, 3, 4. A beat lasts. If I go and put the metronome on 60, then I'm getting 60 beats to a minute. That is, one beat lasts for 1 second. Every second is a beat. And in that second, you can have all kinds of things going on. Well, the more notes you stick in, the faster they gotta go. So if I only play one note, that's one note per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I want to put 2 notes in there, well, they got to go twice as fast. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? If I put 4 notes in there, they got to go twice as fast again. See, the more notes I put in there, the faster they got to go. And I had stated where you're playing in triplets, you're playing 3 notes in the same amount of time as you play 2 notes. If I do 8th note triplets versus even 8th notes, all right, at 8th note, if I do 1 beat per second, then with 8th notes, I'm going to do 2 notes per second, 1 and 2 and 3. But if I want 8th note triplets, I got to do 3 notes per second, 1 and 2 and so those 3 notes got to go faster than 2 notes in the same amount of time is what I'm getting at. I think the person finally figured out what I was trying to say. But if you're confused, let me know and I'll try and explain it another way or something. See, one of the big challenges of learning to teach, back years ago when I took pedagogy classes on piano, how to teach piano, is you have to learn to explain the same thing in a variety of ways, because different people learn things different ways, and you explain things one way and people will get it, okay, I got it, but somebody else will be totally confused. They have no idea what you're trying to say. So you explain the same thing in a different way in the hopes these people get it, and so forth. And that's why a lot of times I'll explain things more than one way and you're sitting there thinking, all right, already, I get it, let's go on. Well, it's because there's other people watching the video who may not get it, and I want to try and help them out too. One person asked, they said they just found the channel and wanted to know if there was any order to my playlists. The short of the answer is no, there really isn't. The playlists, each playlist is uploaded in the order of the books I upload. All right. So there's no real order. As far as I know, YouTube doesn't give me any way of alphabetizing the playlist. I wish they would, because then I could put all the Alfred books together and all the Bastian and all the Suzuki and all that stuff. They could all be together. Unfortunately, they're not. They're all spread all over. You have to scan down. And as I continue to do more books, there's going to be more playlists, because every book is in a separate playlist. So as far as this person, where do I start? Well, you start with the video on how to use these videos. And I put a link to that in the description of every video. So that's where you start, and that hopefully explains how to use the videos and the playlists and so forth to get the most out of the channel. Now the videos within the playlists are in the order they are in the book. And if you find one out of order, please let me know and I'll fix it, because those I can control. A person, one of the viewers, indicated to me, because I didn't think I could control those either, and explained to me how to control where videos appear in a playlist. One person asked, on a particular piece of music, there was a sharp sign introduced in a chord, on one of the notes of a chord, and they asked if that sharp applied later on in the measure when that chord appeared again. And the short answer to that is yes. The sharp applies for the rest of the measure, period. So I'll give you an example if I can. I'll attempt to give you a visual example. We have a chord here, and the top note of that chord is sharped. Then we have another chord, and then another chord, and it's all in the same measure. Okay? So the question is, does that sharp apply to this other chord over here? And the answer is, yes, it does. If it's in the same measure, it applies to it. So you sharp the other one too. Now, once you cross the bar line, that's off. The sharp turns off. Sharps, flats, and naturals signs, when they're introduced in the measure like that, they all work the same way. If you have an exception, and we have lots of exceptions, it would be when the publisher has put in a sharp, flat, or natural as a reminder. Those are totally different animal. All right, I'm not talking about reminders. I'm talking about the signs that are introduced to alter the music. I don't want to confuse you with a reminder thing, or not, what I call a nicety. I have a list of books that people have requested that I cover, and over the next few months I will be collecting those. So next year when I start, or in November and December when I start recording again, I will try and include those. Again, if you have questions, you can leave them in a comment section of videos, or you can tweet me. My Twitter is in the description of every video, the link. You're welcome to do that. A few people have messaged me. I didn't give them the information, but they got it anyway. That's fine. I don't care. So however you want to ask the question, feel free to do so. Hopefully I've confused you enough now to last you. Until then, stay confused.